All right, so in this video, or in this outline, I'm doing a video, but in this outline, we are looking at the consequences of the War of 1812, right? We're looking at particularly nationalism, and we're looking at industrialism. And this is early industrialization, right? The real industrial revolution that's going to happen in the United States is going to happen after the Civil War, but this is going to be the beginning of it. So in terms of post-war nationalism, first we're going to talk about the Monroe Doctrine. And then we're going to see, just as we're kind of starting to come together, slavery is going to start to create some more of those cracks in the system, and we'll talk about the Missouri Compromise. The Missouri Compromise is also going to, we know this, they don't know this at the time, although you've got a great quote by Jefferson where he says something to this effect, right? That the Missouri Compromise is going to push us towards civil war. And again, that's still, compromise is 1820 and civil war is still 40 years away. But we can kind of start to trace these things starting to happen. Okay, and then in terms of industrialization, we've got kind of three things we want to talk about there. First is the canals, the building of canals, the building of railroads, and then the mills. And one of the things that's often pointed out is that, right, the canals and the railroads are all many of them are in the north, and they're connecting the East Coast with where people are settling in that Northwest territory, so the Northeast with the Northwest. But what's being sent on a lot of those waterways and railroad tracks is goods that are made in factories, and the goods that are made in factories are textiles that come from cotton from the South. And so that's what's key about this, is the ways in which the North is complicit in slavery, even though they like to think of themselves as free. And then we'll talk about the people that work in the mills, particularly the Lowell Mill girls. We've got a fun video that I'd like to share with y'all about the Lowell Mill girls. So you can actually kind of see the mills themselves. It was filmed at the mills. It's short, less than 10 minutes. And then the last thing that we want to talk about there is this extension. We looked at Republican motherhood in the Constitution lecture, and this is call to domesticity is an extension of that Republican motherhood. So we'll end with that discussion of call to domesticity in terms of the separate spaces that increasingly separate spaces that we're creating for men and women. Ultimately, and we'll get to this in a few more lectures, and we'll spend even more time with it if you're in my women's history class. But ultimately, women will use this call to domesticity, the kind of moral high ground of it, to argue for the right to vote. So it's kind of a big deal. All right, I hope you're doing well. Take care.